Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 6 of season 3 of The Legend of Korra called Old Wounds. And this is our big Lin episode. And here we get to see a lot more of her backstory. We learn more about her sister Sue. And we even get to see adult Toph in flashback. So all in all, lots of really cool stuff going on here. Now, the whole thing with obviously Lynn having to deal with her sister, we could tell that there was some really seriously bad blood here, and here we sort of see just how all this came to be, and we see that both sisters are kind of right about the past. Sue was right that Lynn was a real hard case who didn't really have much of a life, was totally into her job. And Lynn is right that Sue was a very irresponsible person. I mean, it is pretty easy to believe that she was correct. If Sue had stayed in the city, that she would have eventually ended up in jail. And she's not wrong that Sue was being a very selfish and immature person. She was the daughter of the police chief, and she was running around with criminals as her way of rebelling against her mom. And we even see that when they're talking as adults, they're standing in front of the statue of their mom and reflecting on the whole situation. Sue says, Mom gave us too much freedom, and I've given I haven't given Opal enough. So we see that these sort of cycles between parents and kids, they repeat themselves. And finding that balance, balance, huh? Isn't that a thing in the Avatar world, eh? Is never an easy thing. It's very common for people to sort of oscillate, to swing from the opposite extreme, from one to another, from what it is that they are raised with. Some people embrace it wholeheartedly, others reject it wholeheartedly. There's many examples, both in the real life and from my own personal experiences, that I can give you out of this. But I'm sure we've all heard of the story about the uber religious kid who goes off to college, and then they come back from the summer and they've dyed their hair purple and have metal and piercings in their face and are more than a little bit acquainted with booze, sex, and drugs. But anyway, we're getting off topic here. So we do find out one thing, of course, is the scar, the origin of the scar on Lynn's face. And what is a really nice hallmark of drama in this episode is that this is something that was basically Sue's fault. And think about how it must have been for Lynn afterwards, after she got that scar. Every time she looks in the mirror, she sees the result of her own sister's selfishness, her own sister's stupidity, her own sister's selfish choices. And then to rub the salt in the wound after the whole thing is over and they're in the office talking with their mother, Sue is the one who's basically blaming Lynn for the whole situation. She's like, because she arrested her. Now, granted, Sue certainly did feel a degree of betrayal from her sister by it's like, really, you're going to arrest me, your own sister? But again, Lynn was not exactly in the wrong on doing that. Sue was committing a crime, and it's looking back on it, it's probably made it so that Lynn could not kid herself that jewelry and stuff that she and her friends were looking at back at the apartment was almost certainly stolen. But again, Lynn looks in the mirror, she sees that scar, all she does is see her sister being stupid and selfish and greedy and blaming her for doing what Lynn knows was really the right thing. And then, to make it even worse, their mother kind of covers the whole situation up. Lynn saw that as as Sue forcing her mother to betray her principles. And then she goes on and say, well, the Toph retired the next year. Now Lynn says that it was out of guilt about what she'd done, and Sue does not seem to agree with that. And I don't think we can really take Lynn's view of things as an objective one. You have to figure, yeah, maybe that's true. On the other hand, maybe that's just sort of Lynn interpreting the situation in, well, frankly, the way that makes her sister the villain of the story. And this goes on for years and years and years. Every time she looks in the mirror, the resentment is not added to is at least reinforced. And then there's the whole thing with when Sue is getting arrested, she snaps at Lynn that her being so hardcore about being a cop is why things didn't work out with her and Tenzin. And we talked before about how Lynn probably saw Tenzin as the person who could really help her build that life, that family of her own. That is exactly what she comes to Zhaoli, or whatever the heck that city's called, and sees that apparently Sue has had for herself. It's just old resentment upon old resentment, building and building, until it explodes and the Sue sisters decide to beat the living hell out of each other. And I love how Bolin, while watching the whole thing there with Korra, says, no, this is just how siblings are. Sometimes they gotta fight it out. Now, I'm an only child, so I really wouldn't know about that. But I'm one of only two only children in the whole family, so I've had quite a bit of opportunity to see how my various cousins and my parents and react with their siblings. And yeah, the idea of having to smack each other around in order to sort things out, not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. But it is in sort of confronting all this stuff that she's been resenting and pushing away and trying not to think about, that Lynn kind of does finally come to a place of peace. It's like, look, the past is the past. Do I really want to keep blaming my sister, for the person she was decades ago? Or would I like to take her up on this offer to reconnect, to get to know this family that I've never really encountered before? Do I want to make amends with Opal, who I wronged just because I had a beef with her mom? And Lynn makes the wiser choice and is happier for it. Now, we all go through tough things in life, and there are probably things that, if we think back about them, that people in our lives have done to us, situations that make us angry, that we feel resentful for. And sometimes we're very justified in that anger. But here's the thing. Does carrying around resentment really do any good for you? Or is it just one more burden you have on your heart? Now again, sometimes we have very good reasons to be angry at the people in our lives. But the point I'm trying to make here is that letting anger stay with you over time doesn't accomplish anything. Now, if you can forgive and forget and move on with your life, all the better for it. But there are also times where, no, that's just not an option on the table. But even in those situations, holding on to those negative feelings inside you accomplishes nothing. There is no victory for that other person if you decide to just put that aside and get on with your life. And sadly, that's how some people see it. They see it, if I stop being angry with them, they win. No. You win. You win when you let go. Alright? It's actually been, there's a really great saying I heard, is that holding on to your anger at someone else is like holding on to a hot coal and expecting it to burn the other person. That's actually a saying from, I believe comes from Buddha. And that's a really very wise piece of advice. Unfortunately for Lynn, it took her a pretty long time for that to get through her head. But anyway, not a huge amount to say about Flashback Toph. But again, this just kind of, I take it as a hint that we're going to get to see the Beifong sisters meeting up with their mother sometime before the end of the season. Anyway, not a huge amount to say about what was going on. Oh yeah, one other thing I did want to mention. The whole idea of Lynn getting this place because of, memories that come back to her via acupuncture. I kind of think like that's pretty BS. Now, her going and getting acupuncture to sort of get her health back in order. Okay, now I've spent darn near 6 years of my life living over in Japan and South Korea, so I've lived in part of the world where that sort of thing is taken pretty seriously. And one time I even went to an acupuncturist because well, frankly, I was having a really rough time of it, and it was just horribly, horribly tense. And I'm one of those people that when I'm really tense and stressed, it seriously builds up in my neck and in my shoulders. And one of my friends who'd injured his arm recently had been going to an acupuncturist, and he said, well, and this is another guy from the States. He said, I've been going to this guy, and it's really done wonders for me. Why don't you give it a try? And I did, and by the time it was over, these guys stuck pins in my legs and my arms. And by the time the whole thing was over, yeah, my neck felt great. My neck felt like $1,000,000. But it wasn't just pins that they stuck in me. They did some, traditional massage stuff as well. So so basically, yeah, I basically what I'm trying to say here is I can't really give you a firm answer one way or the other as to whether or not I think acupuncture works, but it certainly is an interesting experience. Anyway, jumping over to Korra and Bolin this episode. First of all, I really do like that Korra has learned to metal bend. It's sort of strange that down in the South Pole, when they were teaching her earthbending, they never bothered to teach her this. Well, why? Surely they could have gotten a metal bender who would have been perfectly happy to go down to the South Pole and train the Avatar. But who knows what's up with the White Lotus people, huh? Now, the other thing about this episode is that Bolin says, Toph is my hero. I'd love to be able to be a metal bender, but he's really reluctant to give it a try. And I work in education. I'm around kids all the time, and I see this all the time. And it's people who want to do something, but they decide that not trying is better than trying and then failing. So they'd rather never give it a try in the first place. But it doesn't take too awful much prodding from Bolin. And I like that Opal is really, really good at, Bolin, stop with the BS. Yeah, and Bolin is a great guy, but he's definitely somebody who needs a person like that in their life. For most of his life, it's been Mako who's been the one that's, doing that. But now he's got someone else, and in a way, it's very nice to see that how it being someone other than his brother is really helping to Bolin to grow as a character. And yeah, oh yeah, we almost have to talk. Almost for a second, we have to talk. You know what? No, I'll save this one for next time. Anyway, guys, that wraps it all up for this episode. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.